How do you counter it? Well, the thing is, honestly, the best thing that you can do is, I bet there's probably over half of you who are watching this video right now who have went through a situation with your job and have decided, you know what, I'm making a change. What usually happens is a lot of us keep with it because, you've gotten to a certain point, salary and things like that, and you're dependent on that salary, so you can't really start back to ground zero doing anything else. If you're like me, I'm 50 years old, and so I feel like starting over again at 50 is it's hard to do. I'm going to keep this to myself as far as what type of work I do. I've been doing this field of work for over 20 years now. I've put in the time, I've put in the work, the blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak. I've accomplished a lot in my time in my field. I should be rewarded. I should be promoted, should be at a higher level than where I am, but yet I'm not. I've been in different organizations. Now, I did work in one organization for over 9 years. I worked at another organization for 4. So, I've had a couple of places where I've stayed there for 2-3 years, and I think my current place, I'm going on 5 years. And so it's not that, I've worked at a place for like a year and then I've jumped ship. I've really tried to, be loyal and stick with the place. But quite frankly, I've been in some environments in the workplace where they've been toxic in some environments. Other environments, it's not been conducive to giving you an opportunity to get pushed up the ladder or to take on more responsibility or anything like that, more pay. And so then you have to kind of leave for greener pastures. I've been in some workplaces where there's been a lot of nepotism, or there's been some narcissistic people over you, people who should not be over you in high positions that they are really not qualified, and they've gotten there because they've relied on other people who, you scratch each other's back sort of thing. Those people like that usually wind up being micromanaging because they feel like they need to understand everything about what you do, but they really don't. And so they get involved in every little aspect, even though normally someone in their higher up position would not be that far in the weeds. But they're like that because there's a sense of they don't truly understand their job and the field that they're working in. And because of that, they're usually very anxious. They expect unrealistic expectations, time schedules that are very tight. They don't want you making mistakes. So you got such a short leash that you make one little mistake, you get wrecked over the coals for it. They feel like they got to put their own people in charge. So it's almost like a buffer, right? And so, if this person says this is not how things are done, well, this is how we do things now. You're a troublemaker or whatever. And so what happens is those people usually get pushed down the ladder, so to speak. When more responsibilities get taken away, you really become more of a grunt. And if you're in that situation, then you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're probably dealing with a lot of what I'm dealing with as well. How do you counter it? Well, the thing is, honestly, the best thing that you can do is go find another job. Or you could wait it out and see if the other shoe drops and that person, moves on somewhere else, or, gets fired, or whatever the case is. Now, my father-in-law gave me a story about how he was in that situation. He had someone above him who made his life horrible, but he stuck with it for years. I mean, he said he put up with it for a long time, and eventually this person left, and then he got put in their position, and things were better after that, but it took years. It really comes down to how much are you willing to put up with. You have to be so far above professionalism. You can't make jokes of anything. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, you cannot let your guard down at all, because if you do, then you're going to get reprimanded for some little thing that nobody else complained about whatsoever. But suddenly there's going to be this story that, oh, well, he said something this way and this is how I took it. You got to understand that that's what happens when you're in this type of environment. So if you're willing to stick it out, because maybe at one point when you joined that company or that organization, it was great, it was exactly where you wanted to be. But there's been some people put in place that has not made your workplace the best place that used to be. I would say for those who have been in that situation and have been able to wait it out, leave me a comment. Let me know your situation, how you handled it. Sometimes you just have to leave a job because it is breaking you down mentally to the point to where you feel like you're losing self-control. You're not going to have the perfect workplace. The only thing that I could feel like would be the perfect workplace is if you're the one running the company, or you're the one being your own boss. There's going to be times where you're just going to have to bite your lip and just kind of put it out of your mind, put it behind you, and just keep doing your job. When you do have situations where maybe you're working for a company that just it's kind of top heavy, they put more emphasis on their C-level people than they do the worker bees, and they put in people that's basically, I'm putting this person in just because they get the job done, but they're not really leaders. They're not really people who's worried about, or a company is worried about developing their own. They just keep bringing in people off the street into higher positions. That number one, that's a big red flag. I would strongly suggest you look for another job, because if a company is like that, where they don't develop their own, or don't bring people up, they don't value loyalty and people who want to be there for the long haul, then it's probably not a company you want to work at. If you're somebody who feels like they've kind of gotten pushed to the side, like I kind of feel in my position, then the only way that you're going to be able to feel like that you're getting back to the respect and the responsibilities that you once had is that you're going to have to just play the long game, right? You're going to have to go the extra mile on everything. If you let your guard down just a little bit, then you're going to receive criticism and not correction. Now we're talking about criticism. Here's another red flag that I tend to have with people in management who often love to criticize their employees. It's not just the employees that work under them, but you'll hear about them criticizing people in other departments all of the time, comparing like, oh, if I had that job, I could do that job quickly. I would do this or that. They really need to go somewhere else. I don't think they're going to be here too much longer. It's like you constantly hear this, and then they'll criticize you. They'll criticize you, and they'll criticize you for not being able to take criticism well. Have you noticed that? Have you been in that situation? There's no correction to follow it. This is a huge red flag. You have got to be able to put in correction as well to help them so that they don't make further mistakes. Otherwise, all that you're doing is you're criticizing their abilities. You're putting them down. You're not giving them an opportunity to rebound, to grow from it, and to be better employees. Because at the end of the day, I feel like the only thing that you really care about is your own advancement. These people tend to be very narcissistic. They tend to think that they know best on everything. They have the right answers on everything. They'll constantly break you down to make themselves look better. And this is a very tough situation to be in. And that's why I say, if you're going to keep yourself in that situation, you're going to play the long game, and you're going to try to outlast bad management, which is almost impossible to do a lot of times, then you're going to have to go beyond everything. The easiest thing to do in this situation is to really start looking for another job. But you really have to focus on not letting your guard down. I would say keep your head up, but always keep your opportunities open, because that's really just telling you that company doesn't value you as much as they should. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to change their mind, especially if you have the wrong people who are in charge. Now, if they start hiring the right people, they start putting people in there who wants to focus on building leadership and developing people into leaders, it's totally different. Because then you get put under somebody like that. They're going to give you responsibilities. They're going to allow you to make mistakes. They are going to point out your mistakes, but they're going to correct you so that you can improve. And that's the type of person that you should be as a leader in management. And if you're not doing that already, you should not be a manager. I'm telling you point blank, you should not be C-level if you're not willing to put in the time to develop people. And if your excuse is, well, our company needs to get this stuff done, I don't have time to do all this. Well, you're working for the wrong company, because all that this company is worried about is money. And I understand we all have to have money. I need to have it. You need to have it. But you also need to work in a place where you feel valued, and your employees need to feel valued. And if you're not giving them that value, if you're not letting them know how much they're being valued and doing that more than just saying it, words are cheap. Anybody can say words, but it's the actions that back it up. And if your actions are different from what you're saying, then you need to do some soul searching on your own. I hope people found value in this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who you feel like needs to listen to it. With all that said, I will see you in the next one.